I'm Alfred Bundy. Welcome to this special coverage of the New Jersey League of Municipality Convention here in Atlantic City, brought to you by Altice USA. My special guest is State Senator Nellie Pou from the Patterson area. Tell me a little bit about your district.
Well, my district is, first of all, very diverse. It's the third largest city in the state of New Jersey. It's where I hail from. I was born and raised in Patterson, but my district is made up of 6 towns. I have Haledon, Prospect Park, North Haledon, Patterson, of course, as I've mentioned, and 2 towns actually in Bergen County, Garfield and Elmwood Park. So very, very interesting, a balance, a little bit of everything.
You have the unique distinction to be the chair of the Legislative Latino Caucus. Tell me about some of the issues you're talking about in the Latino Caucus of the State Senate.
Well, I'm so happy that you asked that question. As you know, there are a number of issues that are going around right now, not only in our local area, not only in our state, but on a national level. So we are very cognizant of what's happening. We have our ear to the ground on some of those issues. In New Jersey, there are a number of very pressing issues that we're all working on. One of the hot issues, although I don't think it ought to be because it's a matter of safety, it's a matter of being very practical, is being able to provide the opportunity for those individuals that are undocumented to be able to get driver's license. So we're in the process of moving forward some legislation in that regard. I personally have been working on a number of juvenile justice reform bills. I think it touches upon every single segment and every of the population and every different groups, but in particular people of color who has been disproportionately affected by the type of incarceration, the sentencing levels, the eligibility for the parole, how these young people and adults as well, but my focus has been on juvenile because I think we have an opportunity to really help them come back into society and help them to rebuild their lives.
Tell me a little bit about your concern about DACA students and dreamers and, their kind of path of being able to stay here without being worried about deportation. What are we talking about here in New Jersey with that population?
Sure. Well, again, thank you for that question because, as you know, there's been there's a very pressing, a very important case right now that has been heard by the U.S. Supreme Court, and that is still pending in terms of the overall decision. But in New Jersey, we have a large number of dreamers, from DACA students or just overall young people who, no fault of their own, have come into this country by very early in their lives as babies, some, just only a couple of years old, and who actually have gone through our entire school system, who's actually been working, and they, for all intent and purposes, they are just as much of American as you and I, because they have really been a member of society and have gone through that whole process. And honestly, I think they are entitled and should be given an opportunity to be able to dream just like you and I.
So, is there legislation or anything that the Latino Caucus is creating to assist that population?
Yes, actually, there was a bill that I actually introduced. I was one of the prime sponsor, which would give those DACA dreamers an opportunity that not only after having gone through the series of education that I've mentioned, because we've already invested in them, right, in terms of our educational system, giving them also the opportunity to be able to be eligible to receive higher education funding as well. Because if we've invested in them in their primary years and their high school years, then we certainly can take it one step further because they're here to stay, and we ought to make that opportunity.
Governor Murphy's Community College Opportunity Grant Program has only been funded for 1 year. Are you in favor? Would you support the continuation of this grant, which provides free tuition for many community college students? Would you be in favor of continuing that funding?
Well, first, I would absolutely tell you that, like anything, we ought to really take a look to see how well it's going, how successful, what are the results, right? But without question, I supported it before. I would certainly support it again. This certainly gives an opportunity for those individuals who would never afford to be able to go to college. And there are many young people today, many who live in my very own district, that I would want to ensure that they are given the opportunity, but for the fact that they don't have the financial wherewithal to do so, that they be given that opportunity to go to college as well.
Couple more questions. Vaping, e-cigarettes. I think there's legislation being proposed or sponsored to deal with this issue. Do you know what's going on with this? Because it's become quite a health hazard, especially for a lot of our young adults.
Sure. Well, you used the word health hazard. I would say almost it's life-threatening, right, for many young people. And I really don't understand why. So you're talking about the vaporing and what's going on
Yes.
right now in our society, and not only in our state but on a national level.
It's true.
The number of deaths that have occurred throughout the country, especially among young people. So I have no idea what is the primary cause of it, although there are many speculations, right?
Alternate to cigarettes
Well, this
in
is
some cases. And plus there's this flavoring, I understand, that really makes it,
exactly.
I don't know, unique.
Exactly, and that's what I was going to say, that it may very well be the substance that is really being used in terms of the vaporing that's being put in that. But this is something that we ought to be looking at very carefully. Like anything that is really causing some type of serious health condition or health hazard, we ought to be not only looking at it, investigating and regulating it to the level that will help to protect the people of our country and the people of our state overall.
Before we stop, what are we losing or gaining having President Donald Trump in the White House?
Wow, that's an interesting question. As I really do think that we need to ensure that our country, this beloved country of ours that we all love, and that we all understand that when we put our hand on our next to our heart and we pledge allegiance, that we are really respecting ourselves, our country, and people in general. And I think that the civility has to be returned back to the White House and on the national level. I believe that our president, who is the most important person in our country, when you think in terms
Maybe the world.
that's absolutely true. When you think in terms of the leadership, we need to return to that greatness that we used to be looked upon, and I honestly believe that that has been lost in these last a couple of years since he's been in office.
I want to thank you, State Senator. I'm Al Bundy for Altice USA.